Okay, we're going to start. Welcome everyone to the first meeting of the 2020 session of the House Standing Committee on Small Business Information Technology. Actually, do any members have any guests here they'd like to introduce? All right, I'm going to take liberty of introducing my page for the day. Mr. McIntosh, he's a freshman at Great Crossings High School. He's also the grandson of Jennifer Parrish, who sits in the front when you check in. I'd like to take a second, guys. We have a member of our committee that is ill. Richard White is in the hospital at UK. They airlifted him from Frankfurt. He had an incident in my office yesterday. They airlifted him last night from the Frankfurt hospital to UK hospital. Keep him in his prayers. Now, that's everybody have a moment of silence and prayer for him, please. Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to do some preliminaries. We have members that are serving on two committees that have went in, checked in, and be back over here. So we're going to wait till one more member gets back here to do roll call. But we're going to do preliminaries first. At this time, I'd like to especially introduce our new member, Rep. Truitt. And would you like to say a few words to the committee, sir?
Don't really have a whole lot of words, but I'm glad to be here. I think this will be my second committee meeting, so I'm excited to see how these things work. But I'm honored to be here and look forward to working with you guys.
And I should have probably given you a heads up. I was going to do that to you, sir. So
okay.
At this point in time, I'd like to introduce my committee staff. They make me look good, and that's a really hard job. To my Janine Corey, Aubrey Ensberger. I got it right. That's unusual. Jennifer Luttrell, Kirk Smith, Crystal Thomas, Sashi Allen, Helen MacArthur, fellow graduate. Also, Caleb Westfall, intern for the 2022 session. Before we get started, I'd like to do some house clean things also. Please silence all cell phones at this time. Members attending remotely, please indicate your location when Jennifer calls your roll. Your vote can only count toward the quorum if you are A, remote from your office, 2, in your car on Capitol campus for reasons related to COVID-19. If any member has a question or comment, please signal to have Aubrey or Jennifer. Members attending, please signal to Aubrey or Jennifer. Members attending remotely that have a question or comment, please send a text in Zoom using the chat function. But we are going to wait for just a second. Ms. Tate, I'm sorry about that. At this point in time, Jennifer, would you please call the roll?
Representative Baker.
Present.
Representative Belcher.
Present in the room.
Representative Bojanowski. Say it again. Representative. Okay.
Mr. Chair, she called my name.
Bojanowski. Representative Bojanowski.
She's there.
I think. Come back. Okay. Representative Branscombe.
Present in the room.
Representative George Brown. Representative Callaway.
Present in the room.
Representative Dotson. Representative Pfister.
Present in the room.
Representative Gooch. Representative Heath. Representative Koenig.
Here in the room.
Representative Lawrence.
Present in the room.
Representative Charles Miller. Representative Raymond. Representative Roberts.
Here in the room.
Representative Rowland.
Present.
Representative Sheldon.
Yes, in the room.
Representative Tate. Present in the room. Representative Truitt.
Present in the room.
Representative White. Representative Freeland.
Present in the room.
And Representative Pratt presiding.
Present in the room. And also, guys, I'd like to remind you, several members are missing today. Representative Miles' mother has passed away, and they are at the visitation and funeral today, so also keep her and her family in your thoughts. Yes. All right, today we have one bill to consider, House Bill 294. At this point in time, you guys approach table, please, to testify. I'm actually going to give up the gavel, and my co-chair, Chris Freeland, is going to actually proceed over this. Thank you, guys.
All right, if you would just state your names for the record before we begin.
I'm State Representative Phil Pratt.
Julia Krigler, Kentucky Cable and Broadband Association.
Tyler Campbell, Executive Director, Kentucky Telecom Association.
Okay.
Annette
there-
DuPont Ewing, Kentucky Municipal Utilities Association.
Okay, thank you. And I was going to say, is there a motion to report the HB 294 as amended by committee substitute?
Actually, we're not going to call it committee substitute at this point in time, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you. All right, please proceed, Chairman Pratt.
Okay. This is a bill I call Save Our Internet Broadband in the state of Kentucky. Basically, it says that Kentucky Wired or their subsidiaries is going to keep the promises they made when they first developed this 7 years ago, I believe it was. Basically, they said they were going to build a backbone, they were going to do wholesale, and they were going to the unserved, underserved areas. That's exactly what this bill says, that they can build the backbone, they can keep the backbone, they can sell wholesale all day long, but they cannot go basically cherry pick off the best customers of our existing telecom companies. With that, this is very concerning as we try to push broadband out to the unserved, underserved areas. Anybody that's in business quickly realizes that if you go and take someone's best customers, there's less incentive, less profit, and it's going to disincentivize broadband out to those areas that desperately need this, and this is what this bill is trying to achieve. It says, point blank, they can keep the backbone. We have no problem with that. They can sell wholesale all day long. I have no problem with that. They can go to the unserved and underserved area, but as you can see, people here with me, all the telecom companies in the state of Kentucky are extremely concerned that they are coming after the best customers. At this point in time, would you guys like to proceed?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the time this morning. My name is Julia Bright Krigler, and I'm the Executive Director of the Cable and Broadband Association here in the Commonwealth. Our association represents the Commonwealth's investor-owned cable companies, which offer high-speed internet, telephone, and voice services to more than 1.5 million customers, homes, and businesses in Kentucky. Cable companies are responsible for almost 33,000 jobs in this state and $5.4 billion in economic activity throughout the Commonwealth each year. And our company's collective fiber network in the Commonwealth spans nearly 15,000 miles, and we're building more every day. It is because of that significant investment of private risk capital that we appear here today to support House Bill 294. Our member companies are focused on three main areas of concern. We're investing heavily to bring broadband access to unserved homes in rural Kentucky. We're upgrading networks throughout the Commonwealth to ensure millions of families and businesses have access to gigabit internet speeds. And we're offering programs to ensure that low-cost broadband is available for families that need it the most. In recent years, Kentucky has seen a tremendous increase in the availability of high-speed broadband throughout the state, and particularly in rural areas. Our companies are focused on extending service to unserved Kentuckians. That's why our association was proud to support Chairman Pratt's HB 362 2 years ago, which established the state's broadband deployment program. And our member companies have been heavily involved in participating in federal grant programs that are focused on expanding broadband to unserved rural Kentuckians. There's obviously significant work left to be done to ensure that every Kentuckian is connected, and our member companies are working hard every day to close those gaps. The General Assembly has demonstrated repeatedly that reaching rural Kentucky with fast, reliable broadband service is a priority, and that was the initial promise of Kentucky Wired, to bring broadband to more rural Kentucky. But it's clear now that Kentucky Wired's focus is on serving large business customers in urban areas rather than reaching the unserved homes and businesses in rural Kentucky. The well-documented delays and unforeseen expenditures have ballooned the cost of what was intended to be a $30 million investment by Kentucky taxpayers to nearly $1.5 billion at a conservative estimate. And rather than providing last-mile service to residents, the network is using substantial taxpayer investment to provide duplicative services in well-served urban and suburban areas. House Bill 294 takes a meaningful step towards ensuring that Kentucky Wired is focused on fulfilling its initial promise to Kentuckians. Appreciate the time today to testify before you all.
Thank you, Chairman Pratt and members of the committee. My name is Tyler Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Kentucky Telecom Association. Our association represents Kentucky's community-based rural broadband providers. Our regular telecom members include 16 rural telecom cooperatives and small commercial companies that provide a wide range of services to our customers, including broadband, phone, video, wireless services, and home security. Our member companies provide broadband services to all or part of 45 counties in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, meaning we serve more than 1/3 of the counties in the state. As community-based providers, we work to serve our local community members and residents with world-class broadband and first-class customer service. Our members take pride in the work they do in their communities as we seek to deploy future-proof fiber networks to our rural Kentucky customers. KTA has shared our concerns regarding Accelecom, formerly known as Open Fiber Kentucky, with members of this committee and members of the Kentucky General Assembly in the past. The views we are expressing here today are not new, but rather a continuation of the concerns our association members have had since the inception of the Kentucky Wired project 7 years ago. And despite our concerns, KTA member companies did find ways to work with the Kentucky Communications Network Authority to help KCNA as it oversaw efforts to build the state's middle mile network in many of the rural counties our member companies serve. Several KTA member companies worked with KCNA to construct the laterals needed to bring a point of presence into 40 counties into portions of both western and eastern Kentucky for the state's middle mile network in an effort to save the state on construction costs. In the agreement with the Commonwealth of Kentucky to help construct those laterals, many of our member companies sought rights of first refusal, which KCNA and Open Fiber Kentucky agreed to in the original contract, allowing our member companies the ability to serve those broadband customers being brought onto the state network within our service territories. Now, Accelecom, formerly known as Open Fiber Kentucky, is pushing back on those right of first refusals they agreed to in the original contract, citing additional terms and conditions not part of previous agreements. Not only are they pushing back on prior agreements made with our companies, Accelecom continually targets key business and commercial customers in our member services areas where we already deploy, operate, and maintain fiber to the premise networks. The ability of Accelecom to use the Kentucky Wired network to cherry pick the easiest to serve customers has been a major concern since the project was announced. And now we are seeing these concerns materialize with their attempts to sell internet services to key businesses within our rural service territories. As Accelecom continues to bid on providing last-mile broadband services, it remains a concern that many of these projects do not fall in areas that are deemed unserved. HB 294 seeks to remedy that by having Accelecom focus their leasing and selling of their wholesale network services to unserved areas. Please understand, our member companies are not anti-competition. Our members compete with cable broadband providers, utility providers, wireless providers, and satellite providers in many of the areas we serve in Kentucky. However, after repeatedly being told for years that Kentucky Wired would not compete with private sector internet service providers, KTA believes it is important for the members of the Kentucky General Assembly to understand that Accelecom is doing just that. I'm done.
We had a motion and a second. We do have some questions, though, if that's see Representative Bojanowski and Representative Roberts would like to ask a question. So, Representative Bojanowski, you go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I've got a couple questions. First of all, is anyone here from Kentucky Wired to share their perspective in this situation? This isn't something I'm very familiar with.
I don't think they've asked to speak, but they're more than welcome to show up if they'd like to today.
Okay. And if I may, Okay. So what's the extent of the unserved areas now? I know as a teacher, we have a lot of students who struggle with gaining access to the internet. So how many residences would you say are not served by broadband services?
I don't have those they may have those. I don't have those handy. All I do know is last time we had the state shut down, there were 32,000 students in the state of Kentucky alone that had no access to broadband. So that's the last figures I've seen. You guys may have updated.
Representative Bojanowski, I will answer this in terms of the federal FCC's Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. When they were rolling out that program, they essentially divided each state into census blocks that were unserved. And again, I don't know the population of each census block because census blocks can vary in size. But in Kentucky, there were over 99,000 census blocks that were unserved at the start of the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund process about 3 years ago. And so that process is now underway. So you are seeing companies and my member companies who are nonprofit telecom cooperatives as well as small commercial companies and those the cable industry all participated in the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund to bring last mile services to those unserved census blocks in Kentucky.
All right. And if I may ask one more? Thank you. So what's the cost differential between the wholesale? I'm assuming wholesale network would mean a cost differential, and I don't know if the term would be retail, but, you know, from what I'm understanding from the statute is you're asking for access to the same wholesale price that someone else might get. What's the differential in price? What would be the differential in price? Or am I misunderstanding it completely?
Well, I think in terms of wholesale network, if you're talking about wholesale services versus retail services,
Right.
Retail would be that last mile, and that's the definition too. A last mile service is who's the end user. If we take it to a courthouse, that's still a last mile, that's the end user. So that terminology, that last mile means that where it terminates at the end user. Retail services typically means your residential customer. When you hear most people talk about retail customers, the wholesale service piece is essentially those dark fiber strands that may be running off that excess capacity. So you have excess dark fiber that can go to another customer, and once that's lit, and when they say lit, that means put the electronics in it, and from one end to the other end, when it's lit, that light goes. There you have your gigabit connection. And so when we're talking about wholesale network services, that can be anything from dark fiber agreements to an intranet network where you connect several groups and they would all have like an own private intranet connection. So it can vary in terms of what the definition of a wholesale network service is. But it's different than when you talk about a final, typically what you would call a retail service to that end customer.
All right. Well, thank you. I have AT&T fiber at my house, and my numbers are just amazing. So I think everyone in the state should have that. Thank you.
I agree.
And our members have been investing, again, we're nonprofit and small commercial. Our members have been investing in fiber since 2002. We were some of the first early adopters to deploy fiber in Kentucky.
All right. Representative Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony today. I have a question. Would this bill, if passed, void or alter any existing contracts in the state?
Actually, that question has been raised. A couple things is, I've had some attorneys here that work for us say, no, it will not. And I would like for the people who have raised that question, bring me the complete contract so we can look at it and have our attorneys look at it and answer this question. I've had this raised. I've had attorneys look at it, and they say it will not. But bring me the complete contract so we can take a look at it. And if that is the case, we'll have the attorneys look at it. And if we need to make changes, we will. And I'm okay if they have existing contracts, leaving those in place at this point in time. But I was told that's not the case. It will not do that. And I'm okay, but bring me the complete contract, and then we'll proceed from there.
So I guess that's a not for sure answer.
According to attorneys, no.
Okay.
But I'm not an attorney. Do I get to play one?
Okay, and if I may make a comment, please, Chair?
Go right ahead.
This isn't necessarily specific to this meeting, but there's just been a trend here among the committees I've been in for us to do motions on bills really quickly. And something as complicated as last mile broadband, I think we owe it to the public that's watching to really have a robust conversation about this. I'm disappointed that the other side isn't here so that we could just hear both sides. This may be the greatest bill ever. I don't know. I just wish that we were taking more time. We have one bill to hear today, so I'm not really quite sure why we needed to limit the conversation about this. That's my comment.
Actually, Representative Roberts, this bill was filed 3 weeks ago. I intentionally did not hear it that week. I waited till today to let everybody who wanted to come show up and testify they could. So I can't explain why they're not here. I'm just telling you they have chosen not to. And again, if they'd like to come talk, they're more than welcome.
Representative Roberts, I'm Annette DuPont Ewing with Kentucky Municipal Utilities, and we have 14 broadband providers, and we strongly support this bill, and this is the reason why, because we're nonprofits, city-owned utilities, and we've spent millions of dollars building out a network with bonds that the people pay for, and now we have the state funding Kentucky Wired and Excelicom, and it's bad public policy to allow them to use public money to build the network of broadband and then have Excelicom build over that network with state money, public money. So that's a major concern for us in terms of just public policy and utilizing public monies twice.
And Representative Roberts, to answer your question, this bill was actually filed 2 years ago. This is the same exact bill that was filed 2 years ago. So it's been out there a while. And again, upon what she said, Arthur Harmon did a report, did a audit. Taxpayers are responsible for 90%, 3% of the total cost of deploying Kentucky Wired. So taxpayers are on the hook on this. And again, so with that, we have, this is taxpayer money that goes into this. I want to make sure it goes to the unserved areas, because that's what they told us they were going to do originally when they rolled this out.
All right, thank you. Representative Roberts. Representative Baker, did you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Roberts actually asked one of my questions, and thank you for that question. You know, it's obvious we want to uphold the commitments we have made. One of my major concerns, and truthfully my primary concern, is the need to reach the last mile, those people who are completely unserved. And does this bill limit or prohibit that reaching the last mile? Does it prevent them from helping in that capacity?
No, it does not. And actually, it encourages them to basically go the last mile and to unserved and unserved areas. That's what we want, and that's exactly what this bill will allow.
Thank you.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none, we do have a motion and a second, so it looks like we're ready to vote on HB 294. If you want to call the roll.
Representative Baker.
May I explain my vote, please? I'm a yes on this bill. I may well be a no on the floor. There's some questions I still have to get answered, but I will support it this morning.
Representative Beckler.
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski.
May I explain my vote?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I'm going to pass today. Very, very persuasive evidence that you've provided today at the table, and I'm very much for getting to that last mile. I do want to collect a little bit more data and information from Kentucky Wired and to be able to inform my vote. Thank you.
Representative Branscombe.
Explain my vote.
Yes.
I'm going to be a yes today. Mr. Chairman, we've had some conversations and some of the concerns that I have, but some of the questions I would say that I have, and I really appreciate your time with that. But today, I'm going to be a yes.
Representative George Brown Jr. Representative Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Dotson. Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Gooch Jr. Representative Heath. Representative Koenig.
Yes.
Representative Lawrence.
Yes.
Representative Charles Miller. Yes. Representative Raymond. Representative Roberts.
Pass.
Representative Rowland.
Yes.
Representative Sheldon.
Yes.
Representative Tate.
I'm a yes, but I'd like to explain my vote. So it's very disappointing when we have two private corporations working together or working opposed to each other. that as legislators, we have to be the deciding factor. And so obviously, it's very important for them to work together, yet I do understand at some point we are at a crossroads where that cannot be accomplished. And so obviously, the preference would be for them to work outside, but I know sometimes that's not possible.
Representative Truitt,
Yes.
Representative White, and Representative Pratt presiding.
Yes.
All right, so HB 294 passes with favorable expression, and I guess we're done. Is that right, Chairman?
We're done. Yes, sir, unless anyone has any other thing else to bring up. But thank you guys. Appreciate your attendance today, and thank you very much, sir.
All right. Motion to adjourn, second?
So moved.
All right, I get to hit the gavel then.